Hello again, everybody. Zack Attack is here with my WWE Raw review for this evening, Monday, June the 10th, 2013. Of course, the last Raw before the pay-per-view this Sunday, Payback. And more aboard, we get a lot of last-minute matches made for the night, besides the pre-show, which was already announced before Raw, which I mentioned on my attack today, and I'll mention it again on here. Decent Raw tonight. It was okay Raw, especially with one great match on Raw tonight. And deserved. I'm glad the fans voted right when it comes to that match. That was an epic match, great match. Probably one of the best Raw matches in more recent history. Just a decent match tonight, especially that one great match. Unfortunately, the rest of Raw fell after that. I'll still talk about the entire Raw anyway. And it started off on the wrong foot to begin with. We started off the evening with, the match that Triple H promised would happen this week, him against Curtis Axel. Of course, he was prevented from wrestling Curtis Axel last week because of this whole Stephanie McMahon, Vince McMahon thing, setting up possibly Triple H to finally retire, which he should. Sorry, he doesn't need to wrestle anymore. What does he have to fight for? You know, he needs to step aside. I hate to say it, go back to his office. Play businessman. Don't play wrestling no more. You're done. I like him, but it's just, come on. He's a part-timer now. Anywho, after being prevented from wrestling Curtis Axel last week, this whole tension between McMahon and Triple H spilled over to this week as Triple H, like I said, he was ready to wrestle Curtis Axel and was on top of him in his match, and this was a stupid way to begin Raw. I knew it was going to be some stupid hype up another match for Payback, but as we would find out the match would not take place in Payback. Well, we'll find out when it would take place. Then also Triple H added Curtis Axel with some holds, but then, like I said, the tension between Vince and Triple H spilled over to this week as Vince McMahon come out and try to end the match on a disqualification. Because he's the chairman. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Well, Vince screwed Brett and Vince screwed Hogan. Both on school job 03. But he can also screw Triple H as well. But Triple H, being the COO, decided to restart the match himself after Vince tried to end it. Well, the game of one-upsmanship continued as Triple H was trying to fight Curtis Axel again. The restart, Vince came back out and tried to end the match again on a forfeit. And Triple H tried to trump McMahon himself by starting the match again as a 60-man Iron Man match until Vince took the bell and the microphone. So it's kind of a stupid way to watch Raw. Sponsored by Hardee's. God, was that annoying tonight? The Hardee's cheap plugs. Well, we've seen that a lot on Raw lately. Cheap plugs for Hardee's and pizza. Not Pizza Hut, but Domino's. So, we get used to this in Raw. Raw will, everyone advertises Hardee's and pizza and social media, especially WWE getting mentioned 10 million times. So, Triple H and Curtis Axel ends on a no contest. Basically, it was kind of a stupid way to start Raw. And of course, this whole McMahon Triple H feud would spill into the evening, ending up with them hugging it out with Stephanie in the middle. Stephanie in the middle. That was kind of a weird segment, especially with Vince saying, I'll never hug another man. Yeah, you're talking to the guy who had the Kiss My Ass Club. That's kind of weird, but the match will happen next week now. Vince said that he will give Triple H his match. Even Triple H tried to see Vince's ring. He even said to Vince, I say it your way now, Vince. Try to say it your way. Try to see it my way, your way. We can work it out. We can work it out. Beatles reference. Even I'm wearing a Stones shirt. Anyway, so Triple H is supposed to wrestle Curtis Axel, despite Triple H did agree with Vince that Axel's beneath him. That's when they had another argument again. In that last segment before the face-to-face between Cena and Payback, which ended Raw. So unless Vince interrupts it again, which I think he's going to step aside, Triple H will wrestle Curtis Axel next week on Raw. I thought it was going to be a segue for the match to happen at Payback. But no, it's going to happen next week. Speaking of Payback, our next match would segue to 3 matches being made for Payback. Kicking off with Kane, taking on a member of the Shield, Dean Ambrose. It wasn't 3 matches made for Payback after this. It was 2 matches made for Payback. So, the match was okay. Kane tried his best to, of course, use his strength big time to kick the crap out of Ambrose. But Ambrose, sly and sneaky, like all the members of the Shield, found the spot and indeed tried to indeed nail Kane and weaken him for their match that was made later on for Payback, especially after the ending. So after an early rush by Dean Ambrose, Kane of course struck back with of course a big clothesline off the top rope. It was ready to deliver maybe a tombstone or even a chokeslam a few times. Dean Ambrose blocked every attempt, but as Kane was finally ready to deliver the chokeslam, and I knew this was going to happen. I knew there was going to be some sort of interference involving the other two members of the Shield. That being Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. And boy was I right. As Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns saved Dean Ambrose from getting a chokeslam from Kane, causing a disqualification victory for Kane, here comes Bryan ready to make the rescue. Of course, Orton and Daniel Bryan had their several issues. Of course, last week, the whole six-man tag thing. And of course, Orton and Daniel Bryan last week on SmackDown after their tag match went out of control. So after this match, we'd find out that, like I said, 2 matches were made out of this match for Payback Sunday. First, we'd have a tag team title rematch. And Daniel Bryan would get a rematch against Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. But not with the partner he thought he was going to get, Kane. Randy Orton's going to be Daniel Bryan's new tag team partner to face off against Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. But Kane will take on Dean Ambrose for the United States Championship at the pay-per-view. Sorry. They didn't see my tackle and I've been kind of recovering from an undisclosed illness. I was sick most of the day yesterday, but I'm recovering quite well, but I'm still kind of ill but not as much as I did yesterday. Well, we have 2 matches made for the pay-per-view, for the tag team match and a U.S. Championship match. We do have matches made for this evening. Randy Orton will take on Roman Reigns, and thanks to WWE Universe, the fans chose Seth Rollins against Daniel Bryan. And of course, I'll talk about that match when I get to it. And of course, that was the match I was talking about. That was a great match, probably the best match of the night. And like I said earlier in the beginning of this video, best Raw match in recent memory. So there we go. Speaking of matches for Payback, our next match, which announced that Fandango, as I mentioned in my attack line today, suffered a concussion. So, unfortunately, another title match at a pay-per-view got cut thanks to a concussion. Last month, it was Dolph Ziggler getting a concussion, canceling a triple threat ladder match. And now another triple threat gets canceled before the pay-per-view thanks to a concussion, this time, Fandango. So, it was changed to being Miz against Wade Barrett this Sunday, but as we would find out by the end of this match, it would still be a triple threat. So, we would have The Miz against Cody Rhodes with, of course, Wade Barrett at ringside. And, yeah, a decent matchup. And, indeed, Miz was taking full control. And unfortunately, Miz kind of tripped a bit and tweaked his knee a little bit. Worked or not, Miz kind of like tripped his knee up. And Cody basically targeted the knee for the majority of the match after the early fury from The Miz. But despite Cody targeting the knee and weakening the knee throughout the match, Miz, of course, counted back in the end. As of course, Cody was continuing, like I said, basically after Miz tweaked the knee a bit, basically it gave a target for Cody to aim at. As Cody was going for the knee more, apparently, eventually Miz would get Cody caught his knee, get him in the figure 4 leg lock, and make Cody tap out. But as Miz was visibly limping from his little knee tweak, Wade Barrett came in trying to capitalize on the knee injury as well, trying to weaken Miz for Sunday. But as we would find out, Paul Heyman would come out and say that, well, Fandango can't wrestle Sunday, but it's still going to be a triple threat. It'll be Curtis Axel competing for the Intercontinental Championship against Wade Barrett and Miz. Now, you can tell me that this guy can debut 3 weeks ago, beat Triple H questionably twice, beat John Cena questionably, and get a pin win over Chris Jericho, a beat with a CM Punk theme distraction on Friday, and you can tell me he's ready to get an IC Championship match just because Fandango got injured? Wow, that's kind of weird. I hope he doesn't win, though. It'd be kind of stupid to have him win his first championship match within 3 weeks of debut. I know he's McIntyre, but come on. Like, his character's only been around for Raw for 3 weeks. with the new name. Curtis Axel, now you're going to give him a championship match within 3 weeks of the character's debut. That's kind of weird, but we'll see what happens. So that's why Triple H and Curtis Axel was not on Payback. That makes sense. Like, I thought Curtis Axel was going to wrestle Triple H at Payback, but it's going to be next week on Raw, especially after Curtis Axel was named the third man in the Triple Threat match, replacing Fandango. So unlike Extreme Rules, where the Triple Threat got canceled altogether when Dolph Ziggler got injured, it made a one-on-one match between Alberto Del Rio and Jack Swagger. This Triple Threat is continuing on with a guy to replace Fandango, it being Curtis Axel. Questionable or not, but I hope he loses. So there you go. Miz beats Cody Rhodes. Momentum for a Sunday match against Wade Barrett, which is back to being a triple threat. And speaking of guys who have concussions, of course we would have Dolph Ziggler and Jericho involved in a little segment. Now, of course, Chris Jericho came out to talk about, his match against Punk this Sunday. And CM Punk finally returns after a few weeks off. Some say too soon. I thought he would return at SummerSlam, but still, I think with many people getting injured and going on, I think they needed Punk to come back sooner than he was supposed to. So we have CM Punk come back Sunday at the pay-per-view, reigniting his feud against Jericho. Of all the people to choose to see Punk come back with, the best choice is Jericho. The matches, like Jericho said, at Mania last year, in Extreme Rules, both matches were great. I think the match at Extreme Rules was a tad bit better than the Mania match. But both matches were excellent. The feud was great. And I'm glad the feud is restarting. As Jericho was talking about Mr. Punk, here comes, like I said, the man who had a concussion, now is back. Dolph Ziggler. Talking about Jericho being a loser. And he's been gone for a few weeks. Now he's back to show off yet again. And Jericho's like, hey, if you want to show off bad, you got Alberto Sunday. Of course, Alberto, who beat Swagger in that last-minute match when Dolph got concussed, is now the number one contender. And the match that I told you on my attack line that it was going to be made tonight for Payback. Now it's official for Payback. Dolph Ziggler, Alberto Del Rio for the whatever championship. And Jericho's like, I want to wrestle you tonight. Dolph's like, well, you're going to wrestle Big E instead. Well, from what I've read on house shows, that Dolph Ziggler is medically cleared apparently, but I think they're basically saving Dolph from any further harm by not having him get physical, although he kind of did during this match, until the match itself on pay-per-view. So we have Big E Langston taking on Chris Jericho. And it was a pretty decent match. I knew there'd be some sort of interference. And more members I went on this one too. Like, me being a wrestling fan for so long, I've been a wrestling fan all my life, all 25 years of my life. But basically, liking wrestling since I came out of the womb, So, knowing my wrestling expertise, I can tell when certain spots are coming. Like, I knew the Shield was going to interfere during the Kane Ambrose match. And I knew there would be some sort of interference with Big E Langston Jericho's match. And, well, not what I expected. I thought more AJ, but still, we did get some distractions during this matchup, which was an okay matchup. And of course, Jericho came back with his big style, big, flashy, high, fast-paced style. But of course, Big E came back with his big strength. And he came back with the first half of the match was Jericho. Then Langston, I didn't see Jericho nail the wall Jericho during this match, but still, I don't think he needed to. Of course, Jericho tried to came back, he fought the first half, and the second half was all Big E Langston, but Jericho's trying to fight back, and he got three big backbreakers by Big E Langston. His three amigos, not exactly like Eddie Guerrero or Chavo Guerrero's three amigos suplexes, but still three backbreakers nonetheless. Then Big E was ready to get the big finish after the distraction from Dolph Ziggler, but as Big E was trying to nail the big finish on Jericho, we saw the straps down and his man tits showing. But as Big E was ready to deliver the big ending, here comes the interference I knew was going to happen besides Dolph Ziggler trying to interfere. Alberto Del Rio coming in, attacking Dolph Ziggler. With that distraction, Jericho got back up, delivered the code breaker on Mr. Langston, and a 1-2-3 victory for Chris Jericho. With a little from Alberto, Jericho gets the victory over Big E, making Dolph Ziggler very irate. Getting ready for the match this Sunday, being Alberto and Ziggler, for the championship match this Sunday. Now our next match. Sin Cara against Antonio Cesaro. Wow. I never seen Sin Cara in a while. But I'm glad that they didn't have the weird lighting. I'm glad they didn't use like the cheesy blue light for his matches like they usually do. I'm glad they had normal lighting for his match. It's actually not that bad of a match. My favorite spot of the match was when Sin Cara did like that reverse pile driver thing. Kind of reminded me of the Canadian Destroyer for a moment. That was a killer spot. And Sin Cara did use his high flying ability. And no matter what you say about him being botch car, Sin Cara is a decent athlete. Once he learned the WWE style of wrestling, besides his trying to learn outside the box from his usual luchador style, I think Sin Cara could have been a big star. He could have been another Rey Mysterio type, if he doesn't get injured that much, like Rey Mysterio. But it was a decent effort from Sin Cara, especially that killer spot. Probably the best thing Sin Cara's done. I like that move. That was a killer move. But despite that decent attempt, Cesaro with his hard knocks, bare knuckle style, came back with the neutralizer in a 1-2-3 victory for Cesaro. I like both guys. You know, I hope Cesaro gets another big push. You know, he's been going downhill ever since he lost the U.S. Championship to Kofi in that whole yodeling. I can't yodel that much. But anyway, Cesaro gets victory over Sin Cara, a decent matchup. And of course, we would see throughout the evening more promos for that. For those Wyatt brothers, the Wyatt family. God, that's creepy. They look creepy. Like, they look like Duck Dynasty whip-offs. Like Duck Dynasty cast-offs. You know, with the long beards and shit. Not as long as the Duck Dynasty boys, but still. Anyway, we see them promos throughout the evening, despite many rumors over the weekend that they got fired. But no. Now, on to our next segment. Like I said, there was many cheap plugs for Hardy's. Especially with Vicky Guerrero eating a Hardy's hamburger. That was kind of stupid and funny at the same time. Now, our next sequence of matches. Starting with Randy Orton taking on Roman Reigns. Now, I'm glad that Roman Reigns didn't get picked by the fans to take on Seth Rollins. Because I think everybody would think the same thing. If Roman Reigns got picked by the fans, fixed or not, instead of Seth Rollins, would the match happen the same as it did? Probably not. But like I said, fixed or not, glad fans made the right decision with Roman Reigns against D-Bryan, which I'll get to in a moment. So, Roman Reigns was okay match, you know, not as good as the match after that, but still, Orton came flying, Orton came like a house of fire, you know, typical Orton, you know, coming in with fiery rage, especially with him getting a tag team title shot with Daniel Bryan, who was in the corner along with Seth Rollins against Roman Reigns, and Orton came in like a house of fire, but the Shield needs that one opening. You need to find that one opening, and once they find an opening, they get that sneak slide move and get the advantage just as quickly over their opponent. Whether it's a tag match or single match, they do it every time. So Reigns came back with some big moves of his own, but Randy Orton. Super Cena, Super Orton, same thing. But as Reigns tried to fight back, and even Rollins tried to interfere, but then he didn't. Of course, Orton came back with his vintage moves, his 3 moves of doom, going with his power slam, going for the DDT, which he did nail on Mr. Reigns, but was ready to deliver the RKO. But before Orton could RKO Reigns, he did RKO Rollins. But as Roman Reigns and Rollins were both outside the ring, here comes D-Bryan, who came to the ring. He did, of course, his big flying go move on both guys, and the referee called it a no contest. And they instantly, after the no contest, went to the best match of the night of Raw. If you can call anything on Raw, anything the best, but this was an epic match. Seth Rollins against Daniel Bryan. Now, D-Bryan has been on a roll lately with this whole insecurity thing. I think it's brought out the best of him. This whole insecurity thing brought out the best of him. You saw him kick ass last week. And man, this match was great. Very, very, very intense. Very physical match. Very athletic match. Very back and forth match. Just great spots. Too many great spots to mention. My 2 favorite spots of the match was when favorite spot number 1 was when they did the surfboard thing. When Daniel Bryan was going for the surfboard submission hold, but then Roman Reigns did it. Not Roman Reigns, but Seth Rollins did it. And then Daniel Bryan would counter out of it into his own surfboard. I like that. My other favorite spot was when Seth Rollins was making fun of D-Bryan doing the yes. in the crowd, probably the best the crowd has been all night. The crowd kind of sucked, especially when they said what to Dolph Ziggler, but it kind of made up for it with the crowd being good during this match, doing the yes, no, like when they like D Bryan, like I said, my second favorite spot when D Bryan, Seth Rollins was slugging out, yes, no, yes, no, I like that, and that would go to another good spot as when Seth Rollins was doing the whole like D and Bryan doing the big kicks and going for the big finish, kick to the head. But then D-Bry countered it to the no lock, the yes lock, whatever you want to call it. And I like that. The great submissions. There's some great action in this match. Too many great spots to mention. Those were my two favorite spots that I can remember. It was so back and forth action. It was great excitement. And the crowd to the best. That was awesome. That was a great match. Rollins could be a great singles wrestler too. Y'all know Ambrose is the U.S. champion. And Rollins is one of the U.S. Tag champions. But if they were to make the whole entire team break up, I think Rollins could be a very successful singles wrestler. He was pretty good in this matchup. Same with D-Bry. And D-Bry, like I said, with this whole insecurity thing, I think it's been a good thing for him. He's made him more aggressive and more better. And like I said, numerous weeks ago, I just hope. I'm glad D-Bry is breaking up with Kane. But I did not mean to D-Bry to team up with Randy Orton. I meant D-Bry quit tag team wrestling and focus on singles wrestling. Not exactly pick up with Kane and start a new team with Randy Orton. The cheesy name. Team RKO. RKO. That's kind of weird, but weird. I like Raid RKO better. I like that better. Raid RKO. That makes more sense than Team RKO. It's kind of cheesy, but hey. All the teams need cheesy team names. Even Kane went off to that. That was another thing I didn't mention. When Kane was trying to separate D-Bry in an earlier segment, Kane went off. There was a lot of yelling tonight. Kane yelled, and so did Stephanie McMahon doing his segment with Vince and Triple H. But anywho, back to this matchup. Great matchup. Near towards the end, of course, we should have guessed Orton and Reigns were going to get involved. But and there was another killer spot too they didn't mention. My third favorite spot was when D-Bry was going for a suplex, but then Rollins in midair counted into a cross body in midair. That was kind of a weird, cool little spot. And it was just so many like nail falls. Pretty exciting, pretty good matchup. It is Rollins was going to get a distraction. Takes a little help from Reigns. Of course, Orton came out and attacked Reigns for preventing the interference. And then after that distraction with Orton taking care of Reigns, Rollins got rolled up by D-Bry. 1, 2, 3, victory for D-Bry. Thanks to, of course, help from Randy taking out Reigns. So apparently Randy Orton and D-Bry are taking care of their differences. And they're ready for this Sunday. The crowd went nuts. Seriously, the crowd matches for D-Bry has been great lately. Last week was great. And this week the whole crowd was saying yes after he won. So it was a good matchup, man. It was pretty good. Like I said, probably one of the best Raw matches in recent Raw history. Probably one of the best matches I've seen on Raw. Like I said, we see a great matchup, great fast-paced action, very athletic, very good matchup. So D-Bry gets a victory, getting momentum for his tag match on Sunday. But I hope that Orton turns heel. That's what I'm hoping for. That Orton would turn heel this Sunday in the pay-per-view. I've been wrong with predictions lately, but I hope I predict right that Orton will turn heel on Sunday, turn his back on D-Bry. He kind of teased with RKOing D-Bry on SmackDown, but then he played heel at the house shows, but I hope he turns heel Sunday. That's what I'm hoping for. Because I want D-Bry to go solo. Man, because now D-Bry and Kane are breaking up, kind of, but I did not want D-Bry to form another team. So, there you go. D-Bry wins. Momentum. And we went for that great match. That great match to a silly segment involving Caitlyn. Now, Caitlyn, this whole Secret Admirer thing, with the whole text and stuff for a week. Now, I originally read that it was supposed to end up with the Bella Twins revealing there was a joke. The Bella Twins put a joke on Caitlyn. Well, it was a joke, but not pulled by the Bella Twins. It was actually pulled by Biggie Langston and AJ. Of course, Caitlyn and AJ. AJ's the number one contender. She's been number one contender for about 2 months. And the feud's been kind of building with sneak attacks and stuff. And now the match is official. Finally, they're going to fight for the title this Sunday at a pay-per-view. Yeah, bathroom. That should be the pregame match. That should be the pre-show. Not Sheamus and Sandal. It should be AJ and Caitlyn, the pre-show match. Anywho, Biggie Langston came out claiming that he was the secret admirer of Caitlyn. He had flowers and everything, but as Biggie was going for a big wet kiss on Caitlyn, he pushed her down. thus here comes AJ. It was all set up. It was all, calculated plan. AJ said, "Hey, Caitlyn, you left me high and dry. You made me feel lonely when my best friend wasn't by my side. Well, you're the one getting betrayed and getting screwed. Well, it's karma, payback. Well, makes sense. Payback on AJ's case. Of course, adding fuel to their feud, getting ready for Sunday, which the match will now take place. And of course, it ended up being a big catfight brawl between Caitlyn and AJ. And of course, Caitlyn's furious by being embarrassed by AJ with this bad joke played by her. It's kind of like a weird, stupid segment, especially following that great match with Bryan Rollins. You went from that to a silly segment by AJ, Caitlyn, and Big E. So the Say Goodbye gag was a joke, but it wasn't pulled by the Bellas. It was a joke pulled by AJ to add more fuel to the fire with her feud with Caitlyn, which will happen and end this Sunday at the pay-per-view at Payback. Now on to a match, like I said, the match that should be a main pay-per-view card, not the pre-game match. Of course, Sandow and Sheamus this Sunday, but tonight, Damien Sandow had a warm-up match. He took on R-Truth, another guy I haven't seen in a while. Despite R-Truth doing his flashy little dance moves, and of course his high flashy moves, of course Sandow got the upper hand. In the matchup, delivering his big moves like the elbow, the stain, and of course getting the payback with the silencer, his sit-out side slam finisher for the victory and a quick squasher. But here comes Sheamus, talking about beating up Sandow on Sunday. Wow, it was kind of weird to see Sheamus just talking and not coming down to beat people up. Be a star, Sheamus. Be a star. That's what I saw on Facebook. So there you go. Sandow gets the victory. Momentum for his match on the pre-show against Mr. Sheamus this Sunday. Of course, the match sponsored by Hardee's. Once again, cheap plug coming in. Now on to, after that was the McMahon segment I told you about with the Triple H McMahon getting into a little argument till they hugged it out. But now on to the last segment, which was a face-to-face between John Cena and Payback. And to avoid any injuries, especially with people getting injured a lot, especially with Fandango getting injured, and he's out of the match. And not to jeopardize anything, they had the Lumberjacks, who would be involved in the first fall of the 3 Stages of Hell match. The Lumberjack match just circle around the ring to prevent any chaos. Unfortunately, despite their efforts, they couldn't separate Cena and Payback as they would eventually get into a brawl. But not before having a little talking contest. As Goldberg, Ryback. That's what should be his name. Instead of chanting Goldberg, should be Ryberg. That should be his name that they chant. So Ryberg and Cena were talking, like, Ryback was standing from the ramp, and Cena was in the ring. And they talked, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to beat your ass Sunday, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be champion. Now, I said it before when they had the match at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, the last man standing match. I hate both guys being champion. I don't want either guy to be champion, but it's tough to pick. If it's a case of who would I rather see as champion? I'd rather see Cena as champion, despite my hatred for Cena and his character. But I hate Ryback even more. I don't want Ryback to be champion. He doesn't deserve it, like I mentioned many times. So Ryback said, "Oh, Cena, I don't want you getting your butt whipped." And then Cena's like, "Payback's a bitch." You know, swearing a lot. Well, he's been swearing a lot lately, but still. As Cena was waiting to trying to avoid the advice given by Vicky Guerrero, was waiting to beat up Ryback. Cena was waiting to climb out of the ring into the ramp and beat up Ryback. But unfortunately, the Lumberjacks were indeed at the time doing their job, preventing Cena from getting to Ryback. But as Cena was getting, he went to both sides of the ring, but getting pushed back in by the Lumberjacks. But then Ryback came in, and the brawl did happen. Ryback and Cena did get it on, and all the Lumberjacks came in to separate them both. That's where we ended Raw. With John Cena and Ryback trying to get on in a brawl before Sunday, but being separated by the Lumberjacks on the ring. Even guys I haven't seen in a while that should be fired, like JTG and Ted DiBiase. So there you go. See what happens Sunday in the matchup between Cena and Ryback. And of course, matches made tonight. The pre-show match, Sandow and Sheamus. And of course, Ziggler and Alberto's official. Shearing against Orton and Daniel Bryan. Ambrose and Kane. Both for being tagged in the U.S. Championship respectfully. Punk against Jericho. So happy to see Punk back. So happy to see him back. And of course, Curtis Axel replacing Fandango for the IC Championship match. I hope Axel doesn't win against Miz and Barrett. Kayla and AJ for the Davis Championship. That match is set for Sunday at the pay-per-view. So they go, okay, Raw tonight. Especially with that great match, Bryan, Rollins. Probably front runner for match of the year. Yes, I'm going that far by saying it's probably one of the best matches of the year thus far. Great matchup. That is it for my Raw review for this evening. I'll see you all later. With that in mind, you're all been attacked by the review from Zach. Thank you all very much for watching. Have a good night. Yeah.